On air.
The Deluted Martial Art on freetalkradio.net. freetalkradio.net.
Alright guys, we are live today because there's so many exciting things going on that we didn't get to it before this to record the show, so we are live. And as you know, the live shows get recorded, so it doesn't matter what time you don't have to catch us live, you get it at the time that you normally listen to it. And yes, so moving right along like a cruising freight train. Things are falling into place. But first of all, good morning, darling.
Good morning, darling.
Now, as you know, we've been covering the topic of Hinduism and India, and Yah has come to some conclusions after doing much digging. And what would that word be to?
Well, it's hard to put into one word. Let's see here.
Are you searching for a song, are you? So let me guess. The one word is bullshit. Based on what, babe?
Well, when the second coming finally occurs, I should be, let's just make sure I want to get the math right here. Let's see here. I should be around, just about rounding down the figures here, 470,070 years old.
So we wanted to announce to you, Dave, that based on the Hindu traditions and their beliefs and all the rest of it, that as evil as it is today, it's going to continue because we're just like at the beginning of the era that will continue for another, what was it, 427?
No, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. It's not that long. It's 427,070 years. And
yes. So that's how long you've got to look forward to continuing in this evil before.
That's when you get the white horse with the rider and the sword.
Kalki coming with the sword and the white, yeah. So based on that, there's no hope for any one of you, and we may as well pack up and all. So yes, it is bullshit. And
well,
I mean,
to simplify it, right? They try to reconcile the Krishna with the second coming of Christ.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, there's been, up to Krishna, there's been 9, he was the 9th, coming of the Lord God in the flesh.
Yes.
Okay. And they date that back to 5,114 or 13 years.
To the birth of Rama, wasn't it?
To the birth of Rama and his brother. But they got one date right, which they have to do. It's just like today where the Rothschilds, when they do something, have to sort of put a date in that is going to draw attention. And that was the 11th of January at 5:30 in the morning or something like that. So how do they determine that number? Well, it's based on the precession of the equinox. So if you was down in the Great Pyramid up until we crossed over the Milky Way galaxy on December the 11th, 2011, after that it's all ballsed up. So before that, as it was coming up to it, the North Star was Polaris, and the little star beside it is YBS 2861, which is One is God, or the Son, 286. The Lamb of God. 286 means lamb. 286 is espousal. 286.1 rather is espousal, and the displacement factor of the Great Pyramid. All right, so that time is now up, because once we crossed over the Milky Way galaxy equatorial line, the Earth went into a wobble, and therefore the North Pole is no longer what you see. If you was an ancient mariner, you'd be looking for the North Star, and you're trying to sail back to England, you'll end up in India or some other godforsaken place, because the North Star has moved in relationship to the Earth, because the axis of the Earth has moved. Right? It's that wobble effect. It's like the top. So what we've got is the demon that was killed off in the flood went to a susceptible nation, right, where God wasn't, the wilderness. And India, with its population, of course, were susceptible to that, because it's not part of Israel. So what happens is, now Israel is the 10 northern nations of Europe and Australia and the United States. All right, so we're talking again the white race, right? And I'm not being racist. I'm just saying here that some race had to do it. That's like the Jews call themselves lovely people. The Jews, they
lovely people.
I mean, they are warm in my heart.
Swedge rhymes with reg. And
don't you talk naughty things about the Jews. They are one lovely chosen race, and I've chosen them out of everybody else.
Hello. To be evicted.
Put another Jew on the Barbie, as they say. Jewfish is I'm referring to. The Jewfish in Australia. Let's throw another Jewfish on the Barbie.
Right.
How appropriate is that?
Totally.
All right, so utter destruction of the Jewfish is the point. So let's get to it. If you was, let's say, in India, anywhere in India, doesn't matter, and you look at the North Star, if you was to, and through a tube, right? If you was to move that tube anywhere in the precession of the equinox over a period of 26,000 years, it's all visible from India. It's just that the star changes over time because of the wobble of the Earth. So if you wanted to access a date, then you could put this thing on a tripod, for example, and move it around the same precession area and looking at the different stars that would have been looking at in years past. Say you go back 13,000 years, you would have a circle, go down to the star it would have been looking at 13,000 years ago. That's easy, right? You can't do that with the pyramid because the pyramid's fixed, but you can do it with a piece of tube sticking out in space. And then you could then pick out the constellations and the stars that were around it at that time. And you can do the calculations based on that. And that's what they've done with the Mahabharata and the Vedas. It's given you specifics that using planetarian software, which we've got today, we can calculate and get a date that is 5114 BCE, and that's another thing that's very annoying because they use that BCE, and it doesn't mean BC as in before Christ, it means before current era. That's a Jewish term. So right there, we got you. It's coming from a Jewish source.
Anything that refers to, because years ago when you were going to school, when I was going to school, it was always BC, meaning before Christ. However,
now on Wikipedia and put anything in, especially about Hinduism and the dates of Hinduism, you'll be coming up with BCE, which means they will not...
It's a Jewish influence.
They will not put the name BC to it because it is a name before Christ. Yes. They won't mention it.
Protocols of Zion, we shall forbid Christ. Right. So they've removed BC.
So these, when you have the information that's coming through you from the internet, it doesn't mean you're sitting down with a high priest in some temple who has all this stuff memorized, which is something to have, and can ask specific questions and get specific answers. You won't get that on the internet because they will censor out or censor in whatever they want to put across. So we've got the white horse and the drawn sword and the white rider. Well, the white horse means power, righteousness, etc. But if we're going to hang around for another 427,000 years, right, for this to occur, and at that time they're going to say there's going to be, let's see, I've got it written down here somewhere. Well, wherever there is a decline of religious practices, a descent of Bharata, and a prominent rise of irreligion, at that time I dissent myself. This is God talking. In order to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscredence, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. This is Bhagavad Gita, whatever it is, from the Puranas, 478.
Right.
By the end of the Kali Yuga, the population of the whole world will be so much reduced to animalism that there will be no more power to understand what is God or what is spiritualism, and it is already there, the Kali Yuga. It will increase, but people will have no power to understand this philosophy, God consciousness. So at the time, when there are no more religious principles, there is no other alternative than to kill them all. At that time, the Kali Avatara will come, and he'll take a sword on the horseback just like a king sent from heaven. He'll simply go on killing all these non-believers, godless creatures, and usher in another Satya Yuga, the golden age of righteousness and truth. So the Kali Avatara is the last of the 10 major incarnations of Lord Vishnu, who will appear the end of this Kali Yuga to protect religious principles. And it's only going to be in 427,000
years.
So that gives the world over to the devil for another 427,000 years. Right. Now, in another account of all this nonsense, we've got Lord Krishna, who is the 10th, and he came around 3002 to 8, or in that era, BC, so it's 5,000 years ago, and he was the 10th, waiting for the 11th. The 11th is yet to come. That's in another way of putting it. There's 22 in the other way of doing it. Now it's the 11th, right? So that's got to compete with the translation of the Vedas, right? So which is right, doesn't matter. We're talking about, they are not mentioning Jesus Christ at all. So if Jesus Christ in their mind is not mentioned, then where does this white horse and the man with a sword sitting upon it representing a king? A white horse is always represented by a king, like the Queen rides a white horse, right? Or if you remember some of the videos of Saddam Hussein, he was always riding a white horse. That's where this comes from. So the white horse means power, and that's the ruling king. Okay, so the one coming down from heaven, of course, is going to be riding a white horse and with a drawn sword, and he's going to kill up everybody. That is not part of the Godhead as being of righteousness. The horse white also means righteousness, etc. So what do we got? We've got manipulated time, which is very easy to do, especially when you've been cast out of the heavenly realm onto the earth, Revelation 12:12, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth. That literally means woe unto the inhabitants of the bloody earth, doesn't it? But not woe unto the kangaroos, is it? Right?
Yeah, they live very peaceably around here. They have nothing to worry about. And they do hop down the streets here and on the street corners,
absolutely.
And they abound
as
they bound.
We've taken photographs and videos of them across the road and down the street, remember?
Yes. They're all around us.
And the dogs don't particularly chase them because the kangaroo is a big male kangaroo will kill a dog.
Well, Charlie used to chase them. They would flee at her.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Oh.
A little tiny yappy thing, they're not worried about
she doesn't yap, she just chases them. They would...
Can I go on with this?
Yeah, go on, all right.
Leave Charlie
with
out
the kangaroos.
Bloody hell, I'm going to win a point all the time. Now I forgot what I was talking about.
Kangaroos. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth.
Oh, yes,
means the people, not the kangaroos.
Woe unto the kangaroos of the earth.
The insanity of it all. I left a comment to Pierre, who's done a good work, and speaking about all of those
well, the Pope is packing the shits at the moment because he's called in all the cardinals from around the world back to Rome and having a big powwow. Right? Now, it doesn't matter what he says or what they think. The point is, it's falling into prophecy that the things that we're doing behind the scene with the International Criminal Court and etc., they are running out of time, because it all goes down to the Vatican. Way back in time, the Vatican received power over England. That was in John I did that. Was it something like 50,000 marks a year in payment? Some ridiculously poor amount of money that was paid by Rome to John for his submission of the throne of Christ over to Rome, because that's what he was supposed to represent, although he was also an invader. We go back to King James, rather to King William, and that's where the line of Scotland is involved. So there was lots of skullduggery going on. Now, the demons that were killed off in the flood. Now, the flood happened. There's over 600 accounts of a flood worldwide. So something happened. You don't have to say, well, it didn't happen, it's bullshit. It happened. Something dramatic happened. Okay. You got the Sphinx, where the water rushed past the Sphinx and washed the body away. So now when we go there and have a look at it, that's what it is. It's totally eroded away up to the ground level. And what had happened there was the rejected capstone had been brought to the site, because that's the last stone to be placed, and it was too large to fit, overhanging by 286.1 perimeter inches in perimeter size, and it weighed 1,722 tonnes. So it's a pretty good idea of how much it weighed to be lifted up 454 feet and a little bit into the air and placed on top. Well, no one thought it would happen. That's the idea of the parable of the rejected capstone. They didn't think the parable would ever take place. They didn't think the capstone would ever show up. They didn't think the Jesus figure would ever show up. They never thought the Jesus figure would come back again as a reincarnate. And all of these demons that were killed off, the giants that's mentioned in the Bible were killed off. Well, they then come back as a reincarnation, and they needed places to reincarnate. So the reincarnation idea in India is that you keep on reincarnating for thousands and thousands of times until you become equal to and can go with God to heaven. It never happens on the earth. You suffer down here, you put up with the suffering, and that makes you more purified. And that is why we talked about Argentina, where they had the miserables. And the miserables are the poor people down there that live in villas, as they call them. But villas actually is not what we thought of as a villa, a big luxury villa. This is shanties, shanty towns, right? And the priest can go amongst them, because these people are suffering to such a degree with the diseases and starvation that while they're walking amongst them, they're close to God, because they are closer to God than the priest are. That's the idea of it. The priest in black can walk amongst them. These demons can walk amongst these poor suffering people, little babies dying of all sorts of diseases, dysentery and so forth, starvation. And Francis is saying we've got to keep the church poor. Why? I'm saying no, keep it rich. We're going to bring heaven to the earth. He's saying no, you bring hell to the earth, because that way you can be close to God. That's what this lunatic does. That's why they wear black.
Now, I was just explaining to Adam Yates, who is listening to us now live, as the only one, because I said we've got to go live. Adam, you really are chosen for a time such as this. You've learned.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Now, I want to explain, because this was suggested to us in 2011, before we left the Riviera Resort, by those who have been studying the straw man and all the legal and you know, trying to free themselves from the system, etc., etc., etc. And it was said at that time that Yah is the one that has to go into these courts and do it for everybody, blah, blah, blah. And I remember he got really pissed off at the time and excommunicated the one that was insisting that Yah had to do this, that, and the other, and all of this study. The bottom line is, and I think Adam really gets this, and the others, is that Yah is here exposing it all. He's written the books. It's in the mind of men who are picking up on the thought of God from the ether, who adopt these paths, these purposes as their life's course, etc. And this is what it is, working together with the Godhead. It's been Yah's course in his body of flesh to, first of all, suffer the 70 years of crucifixion until the death of his sister last week. Oh, glory, hallelujah. What is it, 1 week ago today?
Yeah, I still got sore feet from all the tap dancing I was doing.
Right. But it's been Yah who has had to expose and get out there into the ether, which he has been doing from the early 90s, where it is man then who picks up the ball. They are influenced by the thoughts there and angels who are with them, inspiring them to trace out these thoughts that come from the Creator. It's not for Yah to do everything. You have each been given your gifts and your purpose. Yah has exposed it all, and now we're at the point in time, through the brilliancy of these men that have come to us in recent years, and I'm talking about John, of course, who was in the Vatican, compelled by his own compassion and anger to get to the bottom of all this and see something done, and then Pierre more recently picking up and let's not forget Anna, from the beginning, the one who paved the way. She is the heroine in the piece, and Benedict, of course. But everybody has their part to play. Your purposes are for this time now. All of you who are aware who the Christ is, what his name is today, your purpose is for this time now, not any other time. Bringing it all together. Yah's paved the way, he's opened the way, and now is the time that you are compelled to, like Benedict, he knew he had to announce. There was no not keeping it back. And he understood the grave circumstances that he would place himself in, beginning with, what if they all think I'm crazy? I told him they will. It's not every day that God fronts up, overturns the table of the temples, and your part is to announce once again, which he did. And we are now very well aware of the circumstances that he has been living under. Now, at first, he was held hostage. He was arrested, placed under guard, all that kind of thing. Everybody removed around him. We've got the disappearance and the reported death of Giuseppe Civella, but the disappearance of Sister Mary, etc., Monsignor Rossini. Now, none of that, as public as it has been, and Adam has pointed out, nothing has been rebutted. The In Christum Creedent apostolic letter communicated through electronic media has not been rebutted by the very one who gave permission, and I'm talking about who sits at the head, the top of the heap of it all. As Jesus, I was just having a conversation with Adam minutes ago, and he said he heard my typing to him. That was it. Anyway, Adam. As Jesus, he was taken and shown. He was in the wilderness, 40 days in the wilderness. That actually happened. It's all about, the beginning of the ministry. It happened. And he was shown the kingdom, this world of the future, all of these kingdoms, and Lucifer, the spirit, the crow, whatever you like, was tempting him. If you bow down and worship me, all this can be yours. Well, he said, depart from me, and use scripture, thou shalt worship the Lord your God, blah, 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 and all the rest of it. Bottom line is, then was not the time. What would he want then? What was the kingdom then? Sand, desert, wilderness, rabble. It wasn't the time then, because now's the time. To what? Take over the kingdom. Built by evil, sure. The system has been built by evil, because only greed and all the things that they operate from can only build these buildings, monuments, systems, really to themselves and their evil plans and purposes. But as the Christ, he comes back and he just takes it all over. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already. That's why he keeps saying about energy and oil. There's plenty of oil. It's not about replacing oil.
You can never use it up, because
you can never use it up.
Remanufactured.
Totally. It's all part of perpetual motion. It's all part of that beautiful, never-ending supply. There's not overpopulation. There never has been. There never can be. The resources.
That's what the 427,000 years about. We'll finally run out of oil.
So it's not about reinventing any wheels or energy, whatever it's about who is in control. So let them build it. The one world monetary system, great. It's about the time the world was brought up to par. But as the Lord Jesus Christ, God himself, in control of that marvellous system and technology, this is how everybody will be able to live a kingdom existence of plenty, not suffering.
That's why I said in Vatican III that the church will own 51% of all the corporations, and they'll all answer to the Vatican, to the Christ.
Yes.
So you've got you're down the highway. See you later.
You've got Francis up there who's called a meeting of cardinals, and this came through Pierre because Pierre did send the documents, his marvellous cover letter, and then a letter that Yar wrote for India, the church in India, the Catholic Church in India. And the bottom line is, I just quipped to Pierre about all of Yar's findings and reading and going through. Yesterday, for example, after our show and reading about the swatch stick, all these things are true, right? All these things are true. It doesn't invalidate anything of their meaning, etc. But the truth, the ultimate truth, is that it all comes together under the Christ, who is in his body of flesh with his new name and the name only that he would know, and then he has to declare, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, announced by Pope Benedict XVI, being suppressed from the nations because as the fire, the news that he's back, the fire lit by the tongue, everybody talking, the Christ is back, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, the Shroud of Turin, the image for the blatantly obvious for the pure in heart, then it overturns. He just steps up into that position. It's been created for him all along. You know, people decry the Catholic Church. Well, rightfully so. There have been some awful abominations, as there have been abominations in every system that is not controlled by God. And as he wrote in the pages to the Catholic Church in India that went last night, is that Christ is not in the Vatican. Christ is not in Argentina. The Christ is sitting here in this home. And when he is in that position, ascending to his throne, which is the Vatican over all the earth, for that very reason, he takes over the running of the system. With his Lamb, Benedict, returned, restored, going about his business, which is asking the Christ for direction and implementing it so that paradise comes to the earth for all nations. The end of suffering, the end of war, the end of disease, the end of chemtrailing, everything that we know that the lovely people, you know, the chosen of their God Lucifer, have tried to kill us all off with, first of all, and to suppress the news that the Christ is back. They are the biggest believers of all. So, in all these findings with our BCE and all the bullshit going on for hundreds of thousands of years and all the rest of it, yeah, right. And to top it all off, after yesterday's show, reading about the marvellous disclosures of, what's her name, Savitri Devi, whatever her name was, well, she got a whole bunch of things right. Excellent, marvellous. She was French. And she died in 1980s, an old woman. After trying to commit suicide, once Hitler was no longer on the scene, she heard a voice saying, no, you know, right, expose the greatness of Hitler. And he was a very great man. But he was not the Christ. He realised that Jesus himself was the enemy of the very ones that he knew were responsible for all the misery on the earth. And so he did something about it. So he's reborn to the earth, this is Yahweh, God in the flesh, because it's time now to take over the system of evil, controlled by the Rothschild. We know that. The Black Crow, whatever. That's what I've been calling him lately. Blah, blah, blah. Is that what a crow does? But you get my drift. And now we have the intellect, the logic and the intellect, and the learning and the understanding, driven by their own soul, angelically inspired, right now down to the man who I'm talking to right now, Adam Yates, who's put it all together marvellously. So he's been commissioned for a particular purpose, and we'll read all about it when it's done. In the meantime, you all have your own purpose. You've done marvellous jobs spreading the news against all odds. This really is the taking out of Goliath. So here we have Francis calling a meeting of the cardinals to Rome. This, of course, is after the faxing of these the accusations we've brought against him, the charges that we've brought against him, murder, conspiracy, crimes against humanity, everything that's in those pages that went to the ICC, Chief Justice of New South Wales and the Australian High Court down here, the Nunciature in Canberra, and of course the Sydney Archdiocese. Because when Yah returned to Australia from Canada in 1996, he told the authorities there that the battle against the beast takes place from Australia. That is why he came back, to really go to battle the beast. So you who have become disciples are angelically inspired to fight the beast along with us. It really is, again, the David and Goliath. And you know the story, you know the end from the beginning. Guess who wins? Oh, yes, after yesterday's show, Reading Matters, Watched again, Hindu and all the rest of it. And you know, it's marvellous teachings, because what it does teach is self-control and the what do they call it, dharma of one who is serious about, is following a righteous path, doing good only, first toward family and to all around, doing nothing to harm another soul, etc., etc. These are all good things. This is what he taught as Jesus. However, it's not a continuing journey that goes on and on and on and on throughout, forever. Comes to an end. That's why he taught about reincarnation. So with that, Yah was chatting live on a Hindu site yesterday. Now tell what happened.
I was just looking up like Hindu.com, something like that. And I thought I'd just throw a few blanks over the wall and see what it comes back with. And they have a live chat. So someone came on and asked me what I had. And I was talking in your name, not mine.
Right.
And I said that Pope Benedict had announced that Christ is back. And this would fulfill, in some minds, the Krishna prophecy when he's supposed to return today.
Right.
And I said, now, do you have any scholars in your group, because it's Hindu.com,
right,
that he can talk to? So the argument came back that if he is him, he will manifest himself in front of me because I chant every day. Like we're talking to a 3-year-old.
Right.
And adding, if he was, he would know who they are. Have a nice day. Basically is what I said. So yeah, this is what you've got to deal with. We're talking to a mentality of children over there that it is beyond. I'm really looking forward to it, because you've got to become like a small child, and you haven't got to become like a small child that's an idiot. And that's what I think that they are. That's what's going to be the result over there. So we'll be going to the different temples and so forth and looking around. There's no way in the world that you make any headway amongst these people. There's no way. They're more obsessed with their idea of what it's all about, and they know for sure 100%. And as the Christians are in their idea of what Jesus is coming back as a spirit, they have the same idea. It's a spirit, right? And that they keep on living righteous lives, and they'll eventually die and live in poverty and go back once, maybe 200,000 or 300,000 incarnations, whatever they're going to do, and then eventually be up with the Godhead in the heavens. Right? Hello. So, what I was also going to mention today was there has been a great deal of effort on behalf of the Hindu scholars to eliminate the moving into northern India of the nobles, which were tall white race with blue eyes. We're going back to blue eyes again. So they came up with the numbers. Remember I said BCE? Well, in other words, they're not acknowledging that Christ existed.
That's right.
By being a BCE as
which
opposed
is totally
to a BC. And so they're throwing numbers around that 1,000 years prior to this, according to the piranhas, the meat eaters, flesh eaters, that these white nobles did come there, but they came later than the actual 5,114 years BC. Right? Or BCE, I should say. However, they got blue eyes. And this is where, if you go onto the internet today, you'll find this. It is possible for brown-eyed people to have blue eyes, providing there's 2 mutations occur in the family at the same time. It doesn't happen, however, but that's a speculation. That it is possible, under rare circumstances, that if these 2 individuals had a mutation of both genetics of their eyes, that they would possibly be able to have a blue-eyed child. Where's that bullshit song again? It cannot happen. Now that is why in your family there is a certain lady that has had, with blue eyes and a blue-eyed husband, had a brown-eyed child. Right? If that was to be the case, the chances are about 100 million to 1 that this mutation would occur in her own eyes and your, sorry, I nearly said your father then, and this woman's husband's eyes to bring forth a child with brown eyes. Let alone another child that comes along with
Hazel.
Brown eyes. So in other words, it's easier to assume that there was a bit of monkey business going on over the fence with someone with brown eyes. And I know exactly who it was. Right? That's an absolute 100% fact. So in other words, the blue-eyed people that are in India today are directly descended from the nobles. You see a blue-eyed person, that's it, finished. Don't have to go no more. They are of the blue-eyed race. And that is why I've been on about the blue-eyed race being so important, because it's a blue-eyed religion. Noah had blue eyes. All of the Essenes had blue eyes. Jesus, myself, had blue eyes. Mary had blue eyes, etc. That's why if you look at the maps, just punch in blue-eyed by region, and you'll find that huge amount of area of the northern hemisphere, Germany, Ireland, Scotland, northern part of England, and most of England for that matter, France, all the way up, but not the Italian. Because they're of a different race. Now, doesn't matter that the church happens to be in Rome. That's got nothing to do with it. We're talking about the blue-eyed people that are the direct descendants of the people that come off the ark. Right? And as I said before, realms within realms means exactly that. You can have a realm where the flood occurred all over the world and another realm where it didn't. You can go back to China and say, well, it never happened. Right? And they go back 10,000 years before the flood. That's in their realm. Right? It doesn't mean that it didn't happen with the Noah realm. So this is what the wheels within wheels of Ezekiel is all about. Why Ezekiel? Because his number in Hebrew is 3168, which is Lord Jesus Christ in Greek Gematria. Right? That's what it means. I have lived this life, and it's been a lot longer than 7 years, because in certain circumstances, there's been several years which overlapped months at a time with other existences I had where this could not have occurred. It's not physically, it could not have occurred, but it did. I remember all of it vividly, and yet when I put it logically together, one does not allow for the other one to exist. But I existed in both. It's the same thing where I stepped through the veil. I went back 2,000 years, 1,910 years, to be with Mary walking up down a hill into Carmel, when she told me we were Essenes. Right? The other group of Essenes wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're the ones that were the Herodians, that believed Herod was going to save them, because the idea was that a saviour would come and save them from Rome. Well, Herod was not of Rome. Right? It was from the Greek line, right? Macedonian. Right? So, they had nothing to do with Rome. They looked to him to save them. And they lived in a little area which was on the Herodian Way, which is like a suburb on one side of the street leading right up to the palace of Herod. They're the ones that conspired with the Pharisees to nail me to a cross. And they had all sorts of evil that they did. Different types of execution, for example, all to do with the Jehovah's Witnesses say it was a stake. So you got nailed, not to a cross, you got nailed with your hands above your head. That is one form of execution they used, but that's what the Dead Sea Scrolls writers were all about. So, bullshit is a very good word for it. You're living in realm after realm after realm, and therefore what the Hindus think and what the Hindus do is going to be outmaneuvered by the greatest document that's ever been written. That's called Vatican III. Why? Why is that so? Because the church will be authorising Christ currency. A country will have its own central bank. The Jews can keep on operating that because it's going to come to nothing anyhow. Because the trade will be for the people that are poor in the nations that will be working for and on behalf of Christ. And in India, these are called untouchables. They're already outcast. They're looking for something that's going to save them from the bloody Hindu stupid bastards that keep them in bondage. And there's lots of them, right?
There's, 178 million of
something
them.
In that, yes, 16% of the population, something
16.2%, yeah.
So what's the Vatican do about that? Vatican III, what's it say? Well, you can come there and get your health. We're going to organise work for you amongst your communities, right? You'll have all the money in the world because we're going to print it. Whatever you need, I'll authorise and say, well, this is how much you need to run the country or to run your untouchables, right? That's what that means. So, how many billions do you need? Print it.
That reminds me of one of Hitler's lines that Joel picked up on in his reading on Table Talk. He sent it to me yesterday. Just give me a minute to pull it up. Where is it? Here we go. A quote from Table Talk. This is Adolf Hitler. To give people money is solely a problem of making paper. He said the whole question is to know whether the workers are producing goods to match the paper that's made.
That's right. The paper is only an exchange of time.
That's right. It's all about labour. That's what we keep saying over and over. Now, your idea of, being paid for time, etc., about the nuts and bolts. Now, if there's nothing else to do,
if there's nothing else to do, you have two factories side by side.
Yes.
Right? And one of them has got 20 billion nuts. The other one has got 20 billion bolts. So you ship some nuts over to the bolts, and they put the nuts on the bolts. Then you ship the bolts over to the factory where they came from, and you take the nuts off and ship the bolts back.
So it's just a continual exchange.
It's just keeping them working.
Because working is good for the soul.
Well, what does work produce? Let's say work produces a car, and the car lasts 5 years and then falls to bits and you wreck it. What have you done? You've taken people to build a car that's going to last 5 years and you dispose of it. Or you drill a hole in the ground, you take the fuel out, oil, you convert it into gas or petroleum or whatever you want to call it, diesels and so forth, and what do you do with it? You put it in a tank and you burn it, and it goes off in the atmosphere and the earth makes some more. So you're getting paid to take it out of the ground, you're getting paid to put it into a truck, you're getting paid for the goods to transport the fuel to different fuel stations across India, for example, and then the people in India, they go there, they fill up their cars, they run around doing what they want to do, the little vehicles, manufacturing things, and go to the factories and so forth. You can run it all on oil. I said, what about the pollution? Who cares about pollution? Who cares? You put a filter on it. I mean, you take Australia, it's got the largest oil supply and it's going somewhere. It's got the largest coal supply, which primarily goes to China. And what does China do? Coal is one of the worst polluters of all time. What does China do with it? Well, they burn it. Oh, shit. If you look at the map The amount of people that's in China is over 1 billion, and yet it is so... Get Google Earth, go to any part of China, close your eyes, go in, pick a spot, and you'll find it's mostly bush and jungle and arid land and nothing there. India is the same. Australia is the greatest example of all time. Everyone lives in the cities. You go to the middle of Australia, there's nothing there. Right? There's not even animals in some places. Right? So the production out of Australia alone could feed the world. People say, there's too many people. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, no, that's
people who say that the world is overpopulated, we've got to cull the population.
Let's start
you
with
get
them.
in the line first. Right? There'll be one less asshole. True?
Yeah. Well, totally. It's always been about the management and distribution of the resources, which belong to the people anyway.
So they build up... If it's coming out of the lips, you know it's bullshit. So therefore, if it's coming out of my lips, it isn't bullshit. I'll tell you what's bullshit and what's true. And this is what's going to happen. Vatican III is the greatest document of all time. Right? It gives you welfare. It gives you money. It gives you health. Right? And it gives you an education of to participate in this. Doesn't matter whether you're a Hindu, untouchable, or whether you're what. The biggest problem with Hinduism is that they won't read the Gospels. If they read the Gospels and they're educated, and after all, you go into India, every one person in 100 is a genius, you should be able to say, well, I'll take the 1 in 100. And you take them from little children, because they're going to be sitting there as their mother and father are taken them as compulsory to listen to a half-hour sermon on the Gospels every Sunday, because that's when they get paid. When you're walking out the church, they pay you. Not for paying you for going in, paying you for coming out. Right? So you've got these Gospels being yapped in a little child's ear roll, who don't give two fucks about whether or not Kali's coming back in 430 bloody thousand years from now.
No, Kalki in 427,000.
Them as well, they're both of them. And whether a piranha is a fish or not.
And you found what? How many hours of chanting? I mean, we were in. Fiji.
I chant every day. Well,
10 hours every day.
I never chant.
Yes, it's all about the chanting.
I have a mantra. I have a
crazy.
woman. He does all the talking for me.
Insanity. I mean, it's as bad as the Muslim temples around 5 times a day.
Oh, don't remind me.
Oh, if somebody dies, it goes on all day.
Every 10 families can build a temple. Yes, they do. Just where we was on the Nile River.
Luxor. At
Luxor.
We went back there because it was so quiet.
Actually, if you could have gone back in time, you would have seen an imaginary Moses pulled over the drink. Oh, Mary.
And by the time we got back there, they'd built another temple right behind us. Oh, man. And then the donkey braying. All right, we've got to go. It's after our time is up. Yep. Yes.
We'll meet again.
Oh, wait on. Well, we've got 12 minutes left for
don't
our
know
hour.
where, don't know where.
We could make it an early one.
Who sang that song?
Who? What? Don't know where.
We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know
No idea. Who, babe?
Vera Lynn.
Oh. All right. All right, so, we've got lots to do. Oh, an update on Peter and Grace from last Monday. Peter phoned last night. So this is Pete.
Peter phoned this morning, isn't it?
This morning, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. So this is Pete, not Peter. Peter is Peter, who's in Melbourne. But Pete came from Peter.
He's taller than me as well, a great big lanky guy.
About an inch taller than you.
Got hands like dinner plates. Like
beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah.
And just really right there, got it all. And he phoned last night to say that, half the world is coming again on Monday? Well, not again, but we're going back.
We was invited to come next Monday because a little lady that was going to be there, she works for her son who doesn't pay her.
Right. And
in a vegetarian restaurant. So she had a...
Filipino.
She had a banquet that she had to cook for and couldn't make it, and also she was moving house.
The next day, so...
Right. So she couldn't get over
but
it,
her
and
day
she was
off,
very disappointed. She couldn't come over to meet us, right? And she's from the Philippines.
Her day off every week is Monday.
It's Monday. So I said, well, can you come next Monday to us? And she'll be there.
Yes, it was funny because...
Edna, her name is, lovely lady apparently. And she's going to do the cooking. She was desperate to meet us.
Yes.
Well, fine. Right? So we're going to have the three of them, right, and ourselves having a nice meal that Edna has cooked. Great.
Lovely.
However, when Pete rings, he's just confirming, are we coming on Monday? Well, when I say something, people learn in the future. If I say I'm going to do it, nothing will change that.
Right.
If I make a promise, that's it, I keep it.
We will be there.
We will be there. So even if we've got to walk.
We got there for Benedict. We told him we were coming and we got there. Against all odds, but we got there.
That's right. But he said there's a whole group of people coming.
Didn't he say something like half the world?
Well, he said those words. I didn't believe it.
No, in that tiny flat, no.
But he said half the world's going to be there. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, all these people want to meet you. So that's spread like wildfire. And I don't know how it spread like wildfire. Oh.
That's what the tongue does.
Yeah.
All right, that's what we're counting on. It's how evil is overturned.
Yeah.
The rumour going out.
Well, it's a meek that will inherit the earth, and these people are meek.
Yes.
And Peter and his wife, you couldn't get more meek people than us did.
Exactly. Yeah. I was talking to Abby yesterday on the phone, and she's been vegetarian now for years. So,
and looks it.
Had this lovely conversation with her, and she spoke to Yah. But I said to her, yes, it's the meek who inherit the earth, not the meat eaters at the top. She laughed.
That's what it's all cannibalism, because by eating meat, you're a cannibal.
Yeah.
That's why they control, in particular, they make great joy out of controlling all the hamburger joints and the restaurant and the abattoirs. And it also gives them a place to get rid of the bodies that they've sacrificed. Right? So you can go and get your next hamburger, you could be eating a kid down the street, or your own child has been disappeared for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Horrifying. All right.
That's what it's all about, this reality.
Yep.
If they're saying hell, what is it?
Yeah.
What's the point of me coming to the earth if it's not hell? To get you out of it.
That's right.
That's what it's all about. Someone's got to do it.
And, I mean, again, going back to being cast out of the kingdom, this is the separating the wheat and the tares, and the bundling of the tares for the fire, and cast out of the kingdom. Well, you know, in that heavenly realm that everybody thinks the kingdom exists in, like, you know, the floaty ghost realm I keep talking about, there would be no offence there anyway. So where is it got to be cast out of? The earth, where God has come to clean it up and restore, which is what Adam's numbers were all about, restoration, and the slaying of Goliath. So, all good. Let's go. It's after 1 o'clock. Got work to do. And later, Gators. We'll just go up with a Go Lightly Marshall choir again. We're having a break from the intro. And we'll be back tomorrow.
The Go Lightly Marshall Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.